Hello and welcome. You're watching Beyond World is One. My name is Mohammed Saleh, and let's start this broadcast by taking a quick look as to what is making headlines at this hour. The United States and the United Kingdom have not signed the Paris AI Summit's declaration entitled Statement on Inclusive and Sustainable Artificial Intelligence. The French President Emmanuel Macron tells an AI summit in Paris that Europe will cut back on regulation to make it easier for artificial intelligence to flourish in the region, urging for more investment in the European Union and more specifically in France. The Gaza ceasefire appears to be increasingly fragile after Hamas said that the US President Donald Trump's latest warning further complicates the agreement with the State of Israel, which has so far led to 5 hostage prisoner swaps. Now, Kiev and Moscow have traded long-range attacks on each other's energy infrastructure overnight, allegedly sparking a fire at a Russian oil refinery and fresh power restrictions in Ukraine. And the Indian stocks crash again on Tuesday after US President's latest trade tariff salvo, with benchmarks nosediving by nearly about 1.3%, while the investors have lost 6 lakh crore rupees in terms of their wealth in a matter of one trading session. Lava flows from Mount Etna during a nighttime eruption. Explosions and ash emissions from the volcano increased primarily from the summit craters.
I believe schools are struggling to catch up related to the pandemic because of the lasting impact learning loss has had on students throughout the nation. We brought our students back a lot sooner, and our instructional day was a lot longer. Our rebound was a lot swifter, a lot faster. So when you look at the curriculum that you've adopted, how are you going to develop the instruction that students need? And what are the assessments going to look like? So how do you align all 3 of those things? And we've done a pretty good job in Compton of alignment of curriculum, instruction, and assessments. So the diagnostic provides the baseline data in ELA and math. And then based upon that baseline data, we are able to develop the intervention that the students will need.
With the help of our teachers and the support from other students, it helps make you feel comfortable and just makes it easier.
And then comes the actual interventions.
Before I went to tutoring, I didn't really understand the work that we were getting, but once I started going into the math tutoring, they actually helped me understand more of what I was able to do during the problems that I was getting.
The students confident knowing that they have help from their teachers, principals, and anyone who's around, that they are supported from everywhere.
The gains that we made last year and this year were the highest in the state for similarly situated school districts. I mean, we eat, live, and whatever else you want to say about data within Compton. It's a very essential part of what we do.
The Easter Bunny's arrival will be a much more expensive affair this year as global cocoa prices send the cost of chocolate soaring. It's tough times for sweet tooths right across the country, with experts warning prices will jump by up to 20%.
There's a sugar high hitting supermarket shelves, but this one has a bitter aftertaste.
Completely unprecedented, yeah.
The Easter Bunny hopping to our hip pockets in 2025 and biting into household budgets.
Ultimately, we've seen the commodity price of cocoa, essentially chocolate, skyrocket in the last 12 to 18 months.
The crop, largely grown in West Africa, has been decimated by disease, now in desperately short supply. Wholesale prices surging 600% to $12,000 a tonne in 2024. They now sit around 10,000.
You'd expect to see retail prices lift anywhere between sort of 10 to 20%.
They already are. At Coles, a packet of Cadbury eggs will set you back almost $7. A Kinder Surprise bunny $12.80 or 200-gram Lindt bunny $18. A 300-gram bag of Lindt's Lindor mini eggs are down from $30 to $15 at Woolies right now, while a packet of Cadbury cream eggs will cost you $5. The cocoa crisis is expected to get worse as the year goes on, and it's not just Easter treats that will be impacted. Expect to pay more for chocolate milk and ice cream too, basically anything that contains the crucial ingredient. Smaller retailers like Noosa Chocolate Factory could be your golden ticket to a good deal. They won't pass on the price hike to customers, absorbing the cost.
People are doing it tough at the moment. It's to go and then sort of pull the rug out underneath Easter. It's something that will weather the storm.
Sparing chocoholics the meltdown for now. Abby Gearan, 9 News.
With the stroke of a pen, President Trump is signing off on a new front in the looming trade war, adding sweeping tariffs on all imports of steel and aluminum.
It's a big deal. It's a big deal. This is the beginning of making America rich again.
If enacted, these tariffs could add to the cost of things like baseball bats, cans of soda, energy, and construction. Canada is the largest supplier of steel to the U.S., followed by Brazil, Mexico, and South Korea. During his first term, the president imposed tariffs against steel imports from Mexico, Canada, and the European Union. Trump's latest move would apply to all countries.
The imposition of tariffs would be unlawful and economically counterproductive, especially given the deeply integrated production chains the EU and US established through transatlantic trade and investment.
The EU says it's prepared to respond to protect its interests. Trump has promised yet another set of retaliatory tariffs on all U.S. trading partners which levy tariffs on us. All of this follows Trump's 10% tariffs already imposed on all goods imported from China. Steeper 25% tariffs threatened against Mexico and Canada have been paused until early March.
President Trump is the master negotiator, and everybody understands that these tariffs are simply a tool that he uses to make sure that America gets treated fairly.
The director of the White House Economic Council vowed a golden age of steel production, claiming almost every trading partner has higher tariffs than we do, so he considers these tariffs reciprocity.
For more on how the day unfolded, we are joined by NHK World's Yamanaka Miu in Washington. So Miu, what did you take away from the summit?
Trump said the U.S.-Japan security partnership is one of the closest in the world, making clear his intention to place importance on bilateral ties. Ishiba had been bracing for tough demands from Trump, including on tariffs. But during their joint press conference afterwards, Trump said they didn't talk much about them at the summit. They spent a long time discussing Japan's purchase of liquefied natural gas and the possibility of cooperation on energy development in Alaska. It seemed like Trump put an emphasis into building a relationship with Ishiba, creating a friendly mood and gaining practical benefits through the talks. Trump also revealed that the two of them took a photo together just before the news conference, giving the impression that they took a step forward towards understanding each other.
And how do you think the Trump administration will deal with Japan in the future?
Trump made it clear that he would place importance on America's ally, Japan, and strengthen coordination, but I think Japan may be hearing some tough demands in the future. Trump mentioned at both the summit and the news conference the need to resolve the U.S. trade deficit with Japan. He also said he hopes Japan's defense spending will further increase, showing a glimpse of his America First policy. The key is whether Ishiba and Trump will be able to build a relationship of trust through this meeting and lead to a smooth Japan-U.S. relationship.
Thank you.
Something we can all get behind from this Trump administration is his return to plastic straws. You may remember in his 2019 run, he was selling plastic straws in violation of the current policies in the USA. You would know that these are also outlawed here in every state of Australia. Whenever I go anywhere and someone's got a cheeky straw that they're serving with, I don't even bring it to their attention. I don't want them to know it's illegal. Everyone, keep your plastic straws. So here he is signing an executive order heralding the return of the plastic straw.
We're going back to plastic straws. These things don't work. I've had them many times, and on occasion they break, they explode. If something's hot, they don't last very long, like a matter of minutes, sometimes a matter of seconds. It's a ridiculous situation. So we're going back to plastic straws. I think it's okay. And I don't think that plastic's going to affect a shark very much as they're munching their way through the ocean. Okay.
He is thinking of the ocean life, ladies and gentlemen. He has not forgotten about that. What a considerate president. I just love this. This is just practical sense. It has changed no one's life having paper straws. They are utterly inept. Everybody absolutely hates them. And there's actually a lot of articles written about how unhealthy it is because obviously you're just drinking up this dissolving thing in whatever your beverage is.
I can't believe you didn't mention, Liz. Studies have found forever
PFAS,
chemicals
microplastics
in paper straws. So there you go. Plastic's actually better for you. I can't believe you didn't bring that up.
I'm finally rubbing off on you, James.
But you know what? The other thing, of course, is the amount of plastic straws compared to other plastic products is so minimal that to make this the hill that you want to die on in terms of the environment is simply ridiculous. Well, it all comes back, sorry, Caleb, to a 2015 video released by a German marine biologist who filmed herself taking a straw out of the nostril of a turtle. And that went viral. And it was because of that then this became the big issue, but blown out of all proportion to other forms of pollution.
And it lulls us into a false sense of security that we are actually saving the planet because, we got rid of the straws, right? And there's all the other stuff that we just forget about because, hey, I did my bit with the straws. But I think of all the things Trump has done so far and will do in his time as president, this one will actually cut through, probably more than anything else, because it is it's a day-to-day thing.
It affects your quality of life.
Exactly. And it's so simple, but it affects people in America every single day. We know how much they love their takeaway drinks, Starbucks and all this sort of stuff, right? This is the stuff that will actually make a difference in people's lives. And as I said the other day on the Sunday Showdown, 8 p.m. Sundays, straight after Danica and James, 7 p.m. Sundays, this is the greatest thing he has done in his presidency so far, and it will be the greatest thing he ever
I just can't wait with this till tomorrow for a journalist to ask Anthony Albanese, what will your policy be on paper straws? I want to see what Albo says.
Come on, Albo, if you want to up your vote count. Oh, Dutton, beat him to it. Come on, buddy.
U.S. President Donald Trump signed an executive order pushing for a return to plastic drinking straws, saying that their impact on marine life was limited and that paper ones favored by environmentalists explode. Now, Republican Trump's order reversed targets set by his Democratic predecessor, Joe Biden, to eliminate single-use plastic utensils like straws across government agencies by 2035. As Trump signed the executive order, he said, and I'm quoting here, "We're going back to plastic straws. These things don't work. I've had them many times. On occasion, they break, they explode. If something's hot, they don't last very long, like a matter of minutes, sometimes a matter of seconds. It's a ridiculous situation." He further added, "I don't think that plastic is going to affect a shark as they're munching their way through the ocean." Now, environmentalists have long campaigned for an end to the use of plastic straws and other utensils, saying they pollute marine environments in particular. But Trump, who has long appeared vexed by paper straws, has rejected their concerns. And here is how the residents in the U.S. have reacted to paper straws.
I don't like plastic straws. I think they're very bad for the environment, and I would like them to eliminate them.
Interesting. Now let's take a look at some statistics. The United States has been a major player in the global plastics industry. Many of the world's largest plastic manufacturers are headquartered in the region. In 2023, North America was responsible for 17% of the world's total plastic production. The plastics industry is a vital part of U.S. economy, ranking as the third largest manufacturing sector. It supports over 1 million jobs nationwide. In 2023, nearly 100,000 people were employed in plastic and resin manufacturing alone. The use of plastics industry is closely tied to its oil and gas sector. The country's access to domestically produced petrochemical feedstocks has been a major driver for plastics manufacturing. Before the oil crisis of 2020, the U.S. shale advantage spurred billions in investment in plastic production. Now, the result of this boom has been a world riddled with plastics, with large or microscopic fragments of the material found in every corner of the planet, even in the air. Plastics throat and throttle marine creatures and birds, and microplastics have been even found deep within the bodies of animals, including humans. Research has found plastics present in people's brains, blood, and even placentas. Trump, who has called climate change a scam, has issued a series of orders on the environment since returning to the White House for a second term. He pulled out of the Paris Climate Change Agreement soon after his inauguration on January 20th and has pledged to drill for oil.
The Health Ministry of Uganda has reported an increase in confirmed Ebola cases from 3 to 9. According to a statement from the Health Ministry on Monday, one of the 9 confirmed cases has resulted in death, while 7 patients are receiving treatment in a hospital in Kampala and 1 is hospitalized in Mbale, close to the Kenyan border. All 8 patients are reported to be in stable condition, and 265 individuals who had contact with the confirmed cases are under quarantine. The current strain is attributed to the Sudan strain of the virus, which lacks an approved vaccine. This month, the World Health Organization announced that Uganda has initiated a trial vaccination program targeting the Sudan strain of Ebola.
In this world where I have a good friend in the other part of the ocean saying, drill, baby, drill. Here, there is no need to drill. It's just plug, baby, plug. In this world where I have a good friend in the other part of the ocean saying, drill, baby, drill. Here, there is no need to drill. It's just plug, baby, plug. Electricity is available. You can plug, it's ready. And I can tell you, we will go fast and very fast.
agents are on high alert after a warning of possible attacks from the other side of the border. The threat serious enough to warrant a new memo that urges the agents to wear ballistic armor and travel in groups. NewsNation's Jorge Ventura is live for us in San Antonio. Jorge, what exactly is driving this new call for increased vigilance?
Nicole, this is a major concern for Border Patrol agents in that Rio Grande Valley sector. And a new memo exclusively obtained by NewsNation is now warning agents in that sector that an organized group operating out of Matamoros, Mexico, that sits right across Brownsville, Texas, is allegedly planning to use a shooter who will stay on the Mexican side and target U.S. government, law enforcement, or military across the southern border. What makes this memo even more alarming is that alleged group was reportedly trying to make it appear as if the U.S. government was involved in that shooting. Right now, agents have been warned to stay alert, wear ballistic armor, carry long guns, and work in teams when responding to illicit activity near the southern border. Now, the memo doesn't come out of nowhere. Officials here in Texas have been warning that cartel violence could escalate. Just 2 weeks ago, suspected cartel members opened fire on Border Patrol agents in Fronton, Texas. We were there reporting there live. No one was injured on either side, but Texas DPS has been preparing for more violent confrontations as cartels on the border could be resorting to more of an aggressive approach towards U.S. Border Patrol agents on that southern border, Nicole.
All right, so we know that the Justice Department recently also released this directive. It targets criminals. It targets transnational criminal organizations. So how does all of that potentially fit into what is happening now?
Well, that new Border Patrol memo warning agents in the RGV sector really puts everything in perspective on how we are witnessing in real time how cartels and transnational gangs on the southern border aren't just trafficking drugs and humans anymore. They are actively trying to target U.S. law enforcement. And that memo suggesting that they may be trying to create bigger chaos by making it look or appear that the Mexican government was involved. Now, this order does remove legal hurdles for the department for prosecuting cartel leaders. There will be fast-tracking terrorism and racketeering charges, allowing cartel members to be treated like domestic terrorists, also including the death penalty in cases where cartel actions lead to American deaths. This means that leaders for groups like the Sinaloa Cartel, Jalisco New Generation Cartel, Tren de Aragua, or MS-13 can now face capital punishment under federal law. And while this directive was just issued, officials in Texas have already been bracing for a fallout. A few days ago, Lieutenant Christopher Oliveras with Texas DPS told NewsNation that as enforcement wraps up, cartels will fight to protect their smuggling route. So what's really interesting, Nicole, is I spent many years reporting on the southern border on the Mexican side. Normally, these groups try to avoid that confrontation with U.S. law enforcement because it could disrupt their human smuggling or drug trafficking operations. We are now seeing a more aggressive approach, really for the first time in many years. Nicole.
All right, Jorge Ventura, live for us there in San Antonio. Thank
ICE
you.
immigration enforcement operation supposedly set to hit L.A. soon.
Fox 11's Christy Fajardo live in Boyle Heights with details on a new L.A. Times report. Christy, what does it say?
Well, Christina, does not give an exact date or location, but the LA Times is citing leaked internal government documents as suggesting the ICE raids could hit the greater Los Angeles area by the end of the month.
I will say like 50%. Yeah, they're impacting the business.
Minerva Vila says in the last few weeks, sales have plummeted. She believes the fear of immigration raids has kept customers at home and away from J&F Ice Cream Shop in Boyle Heights.
Talk with my customer and say, whatever time you have, please come and support the business.
In Pico Union, Rogelio Perez tells us sales at his curbside stand are down 30% since President Trump took office.
Hay menos ventas, menos clientes.
There are fewer sales, fewer people, he tells us in Spanish. The markets are empty. Before he was president, the malls were full of people, he says. Both businesses are in largely Latino and immigrant neighborhoods, where locals, even some of those here legally, worry they could be caught up in ICE raids. The LA Times reports a large-scale immigration enforcement action could be coming this month. James Quealy and his colleague Brittany Mejia cite leaked internal government documents, saying it won't just be immigration officers taking part.
It's largely going to focus on people who have lost legal status or people who have pending removal orders. That's about as specific as it got. And we have heard from a few sources that FBI agents are going to be tapped to be part of this. According to the FBI, that was already happening to some degree.
But even before the Times report, business was already slowing in Mariachi Plaza.
Well, not so.
Crescencio Mariachi tells us last month has been slower than usual, with locals not feeling like celebrating.
Viene el verano y ya todo está bien.
That summer will come, he tells us in Spanish, and everything will be okay. And business owners tell us they have been through slowdowns before, including the pandemic and also the Great Recession, and they're hopeful that this will also be temporary. Live in Mariachi Plaza, I'm Christy Fajardo.
In this world of electronic banking, using cash is becoming more and more difficult. It's prompted the federal government to consider tough new laws making it illegal for certain businesses to refuse cash on household essentials. But does it go far enough?
Cash is always welcome at Tas Maniatis' cafe.
You take cash?
We absolutely we do.
$17.95.
Thank you very much. We have an older demographic in the area, but also the young ones too.
In that Australian first, the government's new cash guarantee would make it compulsory for certain businesses to accept cash, but only for what's being deemed essential goods and services.
It doesn't go far enough. There's more things that are out than what's in. And that's the piece that we're concerned about.
At this stage, essential items include groceries like bread and milk, infants' clothing, cleaning and personal care products, medicines and fuel. Non-essential items where cash could be refused include cakes, biscuits, takeaway, adult clothing, alcohol, furniture and tools.
If you go to the till and you pay for bread and you pay for cake, does that mean that you pay cash for one item and then you've got to use a card for the other?
National Seniors Australia is one group providing feedback, with the deadline for public submissions on Valentine's Day this Friday. Their new billboard sending a light-hearted but serious message to the government.
Roses are red, violets are blue. Dear Treasurer, keep cash. Banks and ATMs too.
What this consultation means is that people from all corners of our community are able to express a view.
Supporters who back cash argue there are plenty of reasons to keep it across the board, to cut out card surcharges, avoid online banking risks and to help with budgeting.
I think it's a good tool because you've only got a certain amount and then you've got to go and find a teller machine.
The new laws are due by next year. To have your say, email cash acceptance consultation at treasury.gov.au.
That's the original and it should stay.
Ashlyn Krukhellis. 9 News.
A group of investors led by Elon Musk is offering $97 billion to buy the nonprofit behind the artificial intelligence company OpenAI. The consortium includes Elon Musk's own AI startup. OpenAI is best known as the maker of ChatGPT. Musk doesn't want OpenAI to be converted into a for-profit company, and he's already sued to stop that from happening. He argues that OpenAI has betrayed the principles behind its founding as a nonprofit research lab for the public good. A judge heard arguments last week, but hasn't issued a ruling yet in the case. OpenAI CEO Sam Altman went on the social platform X, which Musk owns, to reject the unsolicited bid for his company. He instead offered to buy Twitter for about a quarter of what Musk paid for it. Altman and Musk have been in a feud about the direction of OpenAI since 2018. That's when Musk resigned from the board of the company that he and Altman helped found in 2015.
Today I can announce that with our Invest AI initiative, we can top up by 50 billion euros. So thereby, we aim to mobilize a total of 200 billion euros for AI investment in Europe. We will have a focus on industrial and mission-critical applications. It will be the largest public-private partnership in the world for the development of trustworthy AI. We fully support the AI Foundation that is being launched today. AI can be a gift to humanity, but we must make sure that its benefits are widespread and that its benefits are accessible to all. We want AI to be a force for good. We want an AI where everyone collaborates and everyone benefits. This is our path. This is our European path.
California.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And I wanted to start by thanking our witnesses for being here. Thank you for hosting this hearing as well. And I wanted to start by just starting with Dr. Resch. It's a very simple question. You can see here an article from the Washington Post. Can you just quickly, so we can take one step back, just mention how much did Elon Musk donate to Republicans in the 2024 election? To Republicans in the last election.
To Republicans overall, I do not know. Well over $250 million to the Trump campaign.
Right, almost $300 million. And in fact, Mr. Musk was the single largest donor in the last cycle. I'm not sure if you knew that or not in this last election. And here's actually the article in the headline from the Washington Post. Elon Musk puts $277 million into the election. He's $200 billion richer this year. $200 billion richer this year. Now, we also know that just in the month after the election, Elon Musk's wealth increased by $170 billion. It should also not be a surprise to anyone that Elon Musk himself holds $20 billion in contracts with the federal government. Now, the truth is that DOGE isn't really about efficiency or reform. What Donald Trump and Elon Musk are actually engineering is the single largest wealth transfer in history. And to pay for the enormous tax cut that's about to come to this Congress in the months ahead, they need to slash spending by trillions of dollars. In fact, Elon Musk himself has said that he wants to slash $2 trillion, $1 trillion from the actual budget. Now, in Trump's first term, we know that he already had a huge tax cut for the richest Americans and corporations. Now he wants to slash it by 1/3 more. But here's the truth. In order to actually get more funds for their tax cut program, they need to slash trillions. And where are they going to do that? Well, they've started. The Department of Education, the Department of Labor, Veterans Benefits, USAID, and eventually Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid. Right now, as we know, Elon Musk, the richest man on the planet, is trying to destroy USAID with his DOGE team. Now, this is the agency we know that distributes foreign aid, but that's just step one of their plan. Now, of course, we know they're going after the Department of Education. And here's an article from the Washington Post as well. Trump preps order to dismantle the Department of Education as DOGE probes data. Now, let me just begin by saying that their mission is to destroy federal agencies like the Department of Ed, to then save money and then transfer that wealth to Elon Musk, his companies, and their billionaire friends through a massive tax cut. Eliminating the Department of Ed would be catastrophic for children all over this country. I'm a longtime educator. I spent 10 years in the classroom teaching and as an administrator. The funding provided by the Department of Ed is critical to children with disabilities, student loans for colleges, and ensuring that students are protected across this country. The Department of Ed has $160 billion to help kids pay for college, $18 billion for low-income kids at K-12 schools, $15 billion for kids with disabilities. And in most cases, most schools are reliant on the Department of Ed to ensure that students with disabilities or that have additional needs get the education that they deserve. And now all of that is on the line because billionaires and corporations in this country need and want a larger tax cut. So let's be crystal clear about what Elon Musk is actually doing right now. It's a wealth transfer to himself and his billionaire friends. I also just want to note that just recently, and yesterday, in fact, the New York Times reported that now they are accessing the control centers for Medicare and Medicaid services. This can be catastrophic to people across this country. And so this committee, rightly so, has asked and demanded that Elon Musk testify under oath in front of this committee. We know that the law is on the side. We know that what he's doing is unconstitutional. And we demand that he come here and provide answers not just to us, but to the American public. And with that, I yield back. Thank you.
Gentleman yields back. President Donald Trump has threatened to halt aid to Jordan and Egypt if they refuse to take in Palestinians after he floated a plan to relocate Gazans to the two countries. Now, the threat came after Egypt rejected, quote-unquote, any compromise that would infringe on Palestinians' rights after Foreign Minister Badr Abdelatty met with his U.S. counterpart in Washington. Would you withhold aid to these countries if they don't agree to take in the Palestinians?
Yeah, maybe. Sure. Why not? You mean if they don't agree? If they don't agree, I would conceivably withhold aid, yeah.
Now, Trump is due to meet Jordan's King Abdullah II in Washington today. He's also expected to meet with the U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio, National Security Advisor Mike Waltz, and the President's Special Envoy to the Middle East, Steve Witkoff. Earlier in an interview with Fox News Channel, Trump said that Palestinians would not have the right to return to the Gaza Strip under his proposal to redevelop the enclave, contradicting his own officials who has suggested Gazans would only be relocated temporarily.
Would the Palestinians have the right to return? No, they wouldn't, because they're going to have much better housing, much better. In other words, I'm talking about building a permanent place for them, because if they have to return now, it'll be years before you could ever. It's not habitable. It will be years before it could happen. I'm talking about starting to build, and I think I could make a deal with Jordan. I think I could make a deal with Egypt. You know, we give them billions and billions of dollars a year.
Jordan and Egypt, both major recipients of U.S. military and economic aid, have rejected Trump's Gaza plans. According to the 2024 data, Egypt received $214 million from the United States, while Jordan received $1.3 billion from the United States. A large number of displaced Palestinians live in both Jordan and Egypt. Prior to Israel's independence in 1948, there were approximately 75,000 Palestinians living in Egypt. The number grew to about 87,000 after the first Arab-Israeli war in 1948. And following the 1967 war, around 13,000 additional Palestinians entered Egypt. Now, in 2024, the Palestinian ambassador in Cairo said that as many as 100,000 Gazans had crossed into Egypt, whereas more than 2.39 million registered Palestine refugees live in Jordan, the largest number of Palestine refugees of all UNRWA fields. Most of them have full citizenship, though about 18% live in the 10 recognized Palestine refugee camps throughout the country. Meanwhile, the Egyptian Foreign Ministry said the country will host an emergency Arab summit on the 27th of February to discuss what it described as serious developments for Palestinians' cause. The move comes after high-level consultations with Arab leaders, including the State of Palestine, which requested the meeting. Now, in other development, the United Nations has suspended its humanitarian operations in the stronghold of Yemen's Houthi rebels after they detained 8 more UN staffers. The UN said that the extraordinary decision to pause all operations and programs in northern Sada province was taken due to lack of necessary security conditions and guarantees.
The recent detention by the Houthi de facto authorities of 8 additional United Nations personnel, including 6 working in Sada Governorate, which has impacted our ability to operate. The Secretary General has instructed the agencies, funds, and programs of the United Nations, in the absence of the necessary security conditions and guarantees, to pause all operations and programs in Sada Governorate, Yemen.
The rebels in recent months have detained dozens of UN staffers as well as people associated with aid groups, civil society and the once open US embassy in Yemen's capital.
This man arrived at a refugee site at Chad's border with Sudan 2 days earlier, after making a perilous 340-kilometre journey on foot from the Zamzam displacement camp in North Darfur. The camp is gripped by famine and besieged by the hostile Rapid Support Forces, or RSF. The man asked to remain anonymous for security reasons.
I swear, what is happening in Zamzam is devastating. Explosions have turned citizens into corpses. No money and no food. Sometimes you go the whole day eating only one meal.
He recounted how he and other members of the community in Zamzam had to bury 25 infants who had died of starvation. According to the UN, parts of Darfur are in a state of famine, the world's first in 7 years.
Aid groups and residents say the camp of 300,000 inhabitants is also being regularly shelled by the RSF, one of the warring parties in Sudan's civil war that evolved from the Janjaweed militia. Another Zamzam resident who fled to Chad also asked to remain anonymous for fear of reprisals.
When we first arrived, we thought it would be safe because humanitarian organizations were based there. We assumed the Janjaweed wouldn't attack them, but they did.
He said the young and the elderly were the first to perish.
The elderly and children were the most vulnerable. Many families lost their young ones due to malnutrition and lack of medical care.
The UN's World Food Programme says the famine stems from conflict.
And I think the main point is, this is a man-made conflict, and the famine, as a result, is also man-made. And the solution can only be man-made. A humanitarian pause would be required to ramp up to the scale that's needed to prevent this from really becoming one of the world's worst hunger or famine situations in decades.
As the UN continues to distribute food for the refugees here in Chad, it says the famine in Darfur is expected to spread to 5 more regions of Sudan by mid-2025. Henry Wilkins, VOA News, Adre, Chad.